Good evening, Accelerated Math. Today we're going to be applying our ratio strategies that we learned prior. We're going to apply those strategies to rate problems. So if you will title your next page. You may need 2 pages for this now that I think of it. We're going to go through all 4 strategies again. So when you get to your We Do page, you may want 2 whole pages so you can kind of show each strategy nice and big. So why don't you do it over the top of 2 pages and then divide each page in half. When you're ready to go, unpause. All right, let me remind you what a unit rate is. Remember, it's a special ratio where one of the quantities is 1. So, it'll have a question where we're asking what is the price of one item, or what is the speed in 1 hour, or things like that. So we're going to ask some problems like that today. So unit ratio, special ratio with a quantity of 1. So let's do one together. So if a cyclist rides 70 miles in 4 hours, what was her speed in miles per hour? Per is usually a unit rate word. And you'll notice it's in 1 hour. That's how we know we're looking for a unit rate. So let's think about our strategy of 70 miles, 4 hours. I'm going to kind of write that off to the side here. 70 miles and 4 hours. All right, so I'm going to pick a favorite strategy first. A lot of times I have the easiest time just personally finding the answer with a proportion. So I know if she rides 70 miles in 4 hours, that's the same as riding how many in 1 hour. And so I'm dividing my hours by 4. So I need to divide my miles by 4, which I will do with my calculator. So 70 divided by 4 is 17.5 miles an hour. So each hour she rides 17.5 miles. 17.5 in 1, double that would be 35, and 2, double that would be 70 and 4. So proportion a lot of times for me is the easiest strategy to use, so I a lot of times do that first. So let's talk about a double number line next. Let's do a miles and an hours. So I'm going to set up my miles number line, hours number line. And since I know I'm going to go kind of backwards, like back from 70 to 17, back from 4 to 1, I'm going to put the entry I know over here. I know it's 70 miles in 4 hours, and I'm looking for how many miles in 1 hour. So what I have to think on here, it's not totally obvious what the answer is still going to be. So I know I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, and 4 hours. And so there's a certain number of miles that goes with 3. There's a certain number of miles that goes with 2. There's a certain number of miles that goes with 1. And I want to kind of use what I know here to figure out what goes where. So if I think about this, if 70 goes with 4, I can take that 70 and divide it into 1, 2, 3, 4 different hours and see what goes with each of these. So I can go back to that 70 divided by 4 question. And I know that each one of these is going to be 17.5 of the hours because I took it and I divided it into 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. So I'm going to have 17.5 here. And then 2 of those, plus another 17.5 here. And another 17.5. I can't do that in my head, sorry. Thought I was going to be able to. Here, 52.5. Here. So that's what lines up with where. Since I took my 70 and to get down to 1 hour, I had to break it into 4 parts. I divided my 70 by 4 to kind of line up my values there. Tape diagram. I would probably put, I don't want to draw 70 miles, so I think I'll do, in my tape diagram, I'll do 4 hours. And in that 4 hours, I ride 70 miles, or she rides 70 miles. How much would be in each of these hours? This is an hour, 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 hour. So if I'm going to do that, I would divide 70 by 4. We're getting used to this, right? Notice all the strategies, I end up really doing the same thing. And each hour would get 17.5 miles. That's a neat and pretty tidy and easy tape diagram, I feel, on this one. So last one, coordinate plane. I'm going to set that up. Remember, I'm going to set up my up and down number line on a line, not on a space. I'm going to set up my horizontal one on a line, not on a space. I'll put my hours at the bottom. So like 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. And, maybe I'll go up, I got to go up to at least 70. So I think I'll go maybe in like tens, 10, 20. And remember, these are on lines too, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So if I go to that 470 point there, 4 hours, 70 miles, and I draw my line segment, got it, and got it. Remember, I'm going to go through my point that I know, and I'm going to go through 0 also, through the point where they're both 0 right here. And so you can see, this is a hard strategy to find exact answers, I think I mentioned the first time. My answer for 1 hour is right here. It's more than 10. It's less than 20. And it's closer to 20 than it is to 10. So I could look at that, and I can't tell exactly. I probably couldn't look at that if I did that first and say, oh, that's obviously 17.5. But if I'd done another strategy first, I could double check it this way and say, yeah, this is giving me 17.5 is a pretty reasonable estimate from here. So I'm looking at this 1 hour spot right there, and I can verify. Let's do one together. Let's do a money one. Jason got paid $15 for fixing 4 bikes. How much did he get paid per bike? Is my unit rate language, per 1 bike, per each bike. All right. Here we go. I'm going to start with proportion. You don't have to. Proportion's kind of an easy one for me, so I'm going to do that. So I know Jason got paid $15 to fix 4 bikes. I want to know how much he got paid to fix 1 bike. And I can easily see in my proportion that I'm dividing by 4. And so I can see easily in my numerator I need to divide by 4. And 15 divided by 4 is $3.75 per 1 bike. That seems reasonable, and so I go from there. All right, double number line. I like that. That's personally, I like double number line and tape diagram about evenly. So we're going to do dollars and bikes. And the only point on those number lines I know is $15 for 4 bikes. I want to know what goes with 1 bike. And so there's going to be 1 bike, 2 bikes, 3 bikes, 4 bikes. And so I have a number that goes with 2 bikes, and I have a number that goes with 3 bikes. So altogether I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 bikes. So I need to divide that number by 15 to see what goes at each one of these. And I've already done 15 divided by 4 to see. 15 is 375. So 1 bike would get 375. 2 bikes would get 375 times 2. Would be 750 if he did 2. And another 3 makes 1050. 4 would make 1150 minus, that's a little too much, so minus a quarter. So 1150 looks like 1125. So that's how much he would get paid for each different possible number of bikes that he did. Tape diagram, I'm going to draw my 4 bikes. Bike, 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 bike. And I know for those 4 bikes, he gets paid $15. And so I need to know, I can easily see I'm dividing 15 by 4. And each bike would be 375. Good strategy on that one. That's, again, a nice, clean, easy tape diagram. For my coordinate plane, again, since I know my answer already is 375, that's going to be really hard to see just right on the coordinate plane, I'm warning you. But it's a good way to verify an answer, even if it's not a good way to find it. So I'm going to draw my vertical and horizontal number lines. They go right on the lines, if you do it perfectly, which I didn't. And let's do bikes on the bottom. So I'm going to skip. I'm going to do every other. 1 bike, skip. 2 bikes, skip. 3 bikes, skip. 4 bikes. And of course, you can do 0 bikes. 0 bikes would be like right on this number line. And then same thing for dollars. $0 is on this number line. And then let's go maybe 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and so on. So we know that for 4 bikes, he gets $15. That's going to be halfway between 14 and 16, right? There. 4 bikes, $15. So if I then make my line segment, or my line, I'm sorry, this is a line, actual line. Make it red. If I go through that, and, I messed up, and I go through 0, remember, if he did this point right here where I am now, that's no bikes, no dollars. If I do that just right, keep messing up just slightly. You got to go right through that 0 point, right there. So if I make my line like that, and I would, of course, if I was using a pencil, I would extend it this way too. I can see on here pretty easily that you can come in, 1 bike is right here. A little bit less than $4, which is my answer, a little bit less than $4. So I wouldn't be able to tell if that was 350 or 375 or 380 or 390, but I can tell if I already know my answer and I'm checking it with this strategy, I can tell that that's pretty accurate. That is unit rate problems 4 ways. If you need to go back and watch this one or the prior example again to make sure you have a good idea of it, please do. And come to class all ready for you due tomorrow. See you then.